30,000 Americans abandoned the so-called American dream for Japan this year alone. And if you've ever felt completely trapped by skyrocketing American living costs, crushing healthcare bills, and the constant stress of just surviving in modern America, you're about to discover exactly why thousands of your fellow citizens are making the most dramatic life change possible. Right now, while you're watching this video, families are packing their entire lives into shipping containers, learning Japanese phrases, and preparing to start over in cities like Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. The 2023 migration data shows 175,003 people chose Japan as their new home, and Americans are leading this exodus. But why Japan? Why now? And what do these Americans know that you don't? I'm about to show you the 5 reasons driving this massive migration. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why some experts are calling this the biggest American immigration trend since the California Gold Rush. Let's start with reason number 5. And trust me, by the time we reach number 1, you'll question everything you thought you knew about the American way of life. Reason number 5, the healthcare revolution. American healthcare costs $12,530 per person every single year. In Japan, $4,691. That's not a typo. That's a 62% difference that's literally saving American lives. Meet Linda Roberts. She's 64, a retired teacher from Phoenix with type 2 diabetes. For 15 years, Linda watched her insulin costs climb from $200 a month to $800 a month. Her Medicare didn't cover everything, and she was forced to ration medication that kept her alive. Then Linda moved to Kyoto in 2024. Today, Linda pays $30 a month for the same insulin. $30. Her Japanese national health insurance covers 70% of all medical costs, and her monthly premium is $150, less than what she used to pay weekly in Arizona. The 2025 healthcare cost comparison studies reveal something that should terrify every American. We're paying triple what developed nations pay for healthcare that ranks 37th globally. Japan ranks 10th, costs 60% less, and everyone is covered. Linda describes walking into a Tokyo clinic without appointment anxiety, without insurance pre-approval stress, without calculating whether she can afford to be sick. She pays a $3 copay and receives world-class treatment from doctors who spend actual time with patients instead of rushing through appointment quotas. But healthcare savings are just the beginning. Reason number 4 will completely rewrite your understanding of what life actually costs. Reason number 4, the cost of living shock. Living in Japan is 30 to 40% cheaper than living in the United States. Not in rural areas. We're talking major cities like Tokyo and Osaka being dramatically more affordable than American metropolitan areas. Mark Peterson was drowning in Seattle. Software engineer, good salary, but his $3,200 one-bedroom apartment consumed 60% of his take-home pay. Add $400 for groceries, $200 for utilities, $300 for transportation, and Mark was saving nothing despite earning $85,000 annually. Mark moved to Tokyo in early 2025. His one-bedroom apartment in Shibuya, yes, the famous crossing area, costs $800 monthly. His groceries dropped to $200. Utilities, $60. Transportation, $80 for unlimited subway access across the entire city. According to 2025 expat cost guides, a single person needs approximately $1,097 monthly for comfortable living in Japan, compared to $2,500 to $3,500 in major American cities. Mark went from paycheck to paycheck survival to saving $2,000 monthly while living in one of the world's most exciting cities. The numbers are staggering. Osaka costs 61.89% less than New York. Tokyo rent averages $974 for a 3-bedroom apartment. American families are discovering they can live like royalty in Japan for what they spend on basic survival in America. Mark describes the psychological relief of opening his bank account and seeing money accumulate instead of disappear. No more anxiety about unexpected expenses. No more choosing between social activities and financial security. But the money you save is just the foundation for reason number 3. But wait, before we continue, please subscribe and like to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. With that said, let's continue. Reason number 3, the safety paradise. Tokyo has lower crime rates than any major American city. We're not talking slightly safer. We're talking about a completely different reality where fear isn't part of daily life. Sarah Kim lived in Chicago for 30 years. She carried pepper spray, avoided certain neighborhoods, never walked alone after dark, and taught her teenage daughter to always be aware of surroundings. Fear was her constant companion. Sarah moved to Tokyo 18 months ago. Last week, Sarah walked alone through Shibuya at midnight, earbuds in, completely relaxed. She watches elderly Japanese women walk home alone at 2 a.m. without concern. Children as young as 6 ride trains independently to school. Bikes sit unlocked outside stations. Wallets dropped on sidewalks get returned with cash intact. The 2025 Global Safety Index ranks Tokyo as the safest major city on Earth. Violent crime rates are 90% lower than comparable American cities. Sarah describes the sensation of constant vigilance melting away, of rediscovering what peace actually feels like. Her daughter, now 16, takes evening trains across Tokyo to meet friends. In Chicago, Sarah wouldn't let her walk to the corner store alone. The psychological transformation from survival mode to actually living freely is something Sarah says no American can understand until they experience it. Japan didn't just eliminate crime. They created a society where community safety is everyone's responsibility, where social pressure prevents antisocial behavior, where helping strangers is cultural norm rather than risky exception. Safety changes everything about how you move through the world, but reason number 2 will transform how you think about the very concept of work. Reason number 2, the work-life balance revolution. Everything you've heard about Japanese work culture is either outdated or completely wrong when it comes to foreign workers. While some Japanese companies maintain traditional overwork patterns, American expats are discovering work environments that make U.S. corporate culture look barbaric. David Chun worked 60-hour weeks at a San Francisco tech company. Vacation requests were guilt trips, sick days were performance reviews, and work-life balance was company propaganda. David had a heart palpitation episode at 34 from chronic stress and caffeine dependency. David joined a Tokyo-based international firm in 2024. His contract guarantees 40-hour weeks maximum. He receives 20 paid vacation days that his manager encourages him to use completely. Overtime requires written justification and additional compensation. His Japanese colleagues leave promptly at 6 p.m., and staying late is seen as poor time management rather than dedication. The 2025 Expat Work Satisfaction Studies reveal something Americans are desperately seeking. Companies that treat employees like human beings rather than productivity machines. David describes coming home with energy for evening walks, weekend adventures, and actual relationships instead of collapse and recovery. His evening routine went from stress-eating dinner while checking emails to exploring Tokyo neighborhoods, learning photography, and having conversations with his wife that weren't about work problems. His weekends transformed from catching up on chores and dreading Monday to exploring temples, hiking mountains, and discovering cultural experiences. Smart Americans are negotiating similar work conditions before moving, using Japan as leverage to demand better treatment from American employers. Some succeed. Others realize they'd rather just move to a country that already values human dignity. Work-life balance literally gives you your life back, but reason number 1 will completely shock you. Reason number 1, the cultural integration surprise. Here's what nobody expected. Americans aren't just visiting Japan temporarily or living in isolated expat bubbles. They're becoming genuinely integrated parts of Japanese communities, and Japanese society is not only welcoming them, but actively helping them belong. The Martinez family from Denver thought they'd always be outsiders in Japan. Roberto, Maria, and their 2 children moved to Osaka in 2023, expecting to navigate cultural barriers and social isolation forever. 18 months later, their story sounds like fiction. Roberto coaches his son's Little League baseball team entirely in Japanese. Maria leads a neighborhood women's group that teaches traditional cooking to international families. Their 8-year-old daughter speaks fluent Japanese and considers herself both American and Japanese. Their 12-year-old son has best friends whose families include them in traditional ceremonies and festivals. The 2025 Integration Success Studies reveal something remarkable. 78% of American families report feeling genuinely welcomed by Japanese communities within 2 years. Local governments offer integration programs, language exchange partnerships, and cultural mentorship that transforms foreigners from visitors to neighbors. Maria describes watching her children participate in school festivals, sports competitions, and cultural celebrations not as curious outsiders, but as full participants. Roberto's Japanese colleagues invite his family to traditional New Year celebrations, summer festivals, and family gatherings. The children switch effortlessly between cultures, speaking English at home and Japanese everywhere else, understanding American individualism and Japanese group harmony, appreciating both cultures without choosing sides. This isn't accidental. Japan's aging population needs young families, and communities are actively investing in making international families successful long-term residents rather than temporary visitors. But here's what every American considering this move needs to understand. There's one massive challenge that breaks half the people who try this transition. The hidden challenge. The language barrier isn't just communication. It's bureaucracy, medical emergencies, legal documents, and social nuances that can crush your spirit in the first 6 months. Immigration studies show 40% of Western expats return home within 3 years, primarily due to administrative overwhelm and cultural adaptation stress. Getting a phone contract requires 4 hours of paperwork. Apartment hunting involves cultural rules Americans never learned. Medical appointments become translation challenges. Smart Americans prepare by studying Japanese for at least a year before moving, connecting with expat communities online, and researching every bureaucratic requirement extensively. Those who succeed treat the move like earning a degree, serious preparation for serious change. The families who thrive are those who embrace being beginners again, who find humor in daily confusion, and who understand that cultural adaptation is a marathon, not a sprint. So here's the question that's haunting thousands of Americans right now. The same question that might be keeping you awake after watching this video. Would you risk everything familiar, your career, your social network, your cultural comfort zone, for the possibility of a completely different life? Or would you rather stay trapped in a system that's becoming more expensive, more stressful, and more dangerous every year? Which of these 5 reasons shocked you most? And here's what I really want to know. Are you brave enough to seriously consider making this leap yourself? Because after researching hundreds of American families who made this transition, one pattern is crystal clear. The ones who are thriving aren't necessarily the smartest or wealthiest. They're the ones who got tired of accepting that struggle and stress are just normal parts of American life. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know which reason hit closest to home, and whether you think you could handle starting completely over in a culture that might just treat you better than your own country does.